It was a quiet night. The clock showed 2:30 a.m. The wind outside made a soft whistling sound, and the house was completely still. Rena, the maid, moved silently in the dark hallway. She was holding a glass of water for her boss, Mr. Arian. He often stayed up late working, and sometimes asked for water at odd hours. Tonight he hadn't called her, but she felt something strange, a soft sound, like a low hum coming from his room. She walked closer slowly. As she reached the door, she noticed something odd. The light under the door was flickering, not like a normal bulb. It was bluish, like a computer screen, but brighter. She knocked gently. No answer. She called softly, "Sir." Still no reply. Rena pushed the door open. What she saw made her heart skip a beat. Mr. Arian was sitting on the bed, half covered in shadow, but only half of him was visible. From the waist up he looked normal. His eyes were open. He was breathing. But from the waist down, nothing. There were no legs. Just air. She dropped the glass. It shattered on the floor. But Arian didn't move. He slowly turned his head toward her. His eyes glowed a little, a faint blue light. He looked calm, not scared. Like this was normal for him. "You weren't supposed to see this," he said quietly. Rena took a step back, shaking. What's happening to you?" Arian stood up. Now, strangely, both his legs were visible again. It was like they appeared out of thin air. Rena's eyes widened. "Close the door," he said firmly. She obeyed, unsure why. He looked at her, then pointed to the chair near his desk. "Sit. You deserve to know the truth now." Rena slowly sat down. Her hands were still shaking. Arian walked to a bookshelf, pressed something hidden between the books, and suddenly, the shelf moved, revealing a secret wall behind it. A dim blue light came from inside. Rena's mouth fell open. Behind the shelf was not a wall, but a chamber full of machines. Small blinking lights, strange symbols, and something that looked like a floating mirror with wires. What is this?" she whispered. "This," Arian said, "is where I fix myself." "Fix yourself?" Arian turned to face her. "I'm not like others, Rena. Not anymore. Maybe I never was. Half of me is made of something else." She looked at him, confused and afraid. "You mean you're a robot?" He shook his head. "Not exactly. I'm still human, but my body was changed by people who wanted to build something better than human. Something stronger." Rena didn't understand. Her hands gripped the edge of the chair. "But why are you telling me this?" she asked. Arian paused. "Because I think they're coming back. The people who did this, and they might come for you too." "Me? Why me?" He looked her straight in the eyes. "Because you're not just a maid, Rena. You never were." Silence filled the room. The machines behind him gave off a low hum. Rena couldn't believe what she was hearing. Was this a dream? A joke? "No," she said firmly. "I'm just a normal girl. I grew up in the village. I work here. That's it." Arian nodded slowly. "Yes, that's what you remember. But memories can be created." Rena stood up. "I don't believe you." Arian walked closer. "Then why did you come into my room tonight without being called?" She stopped. I thought I heard something." "Exactly," Arian said. "You heard the frequency. Only someone like me can hear it." Rena stared at him. The room suddenly felt cold. He walked to a drawer and pulled out a small device, like a coin with a blinking light. "Take this. Put it under your pillow tonight. If I'm wrong, you'll sleep fine. But if I'm right..." He didn't finish. Rena looked at the device, then at him. His voice became softer. "Do you ever feel like you don't belong in this world?" She didn't answer. He smiled sadly. "That's how I knew, before they came for me." Suddenly, the lights flickered. A sound like static came from the secret wall. Arian turned quickly. "They're close. Go." Now, lock your door. And don't let anyone in, no matter who it is." Rena ran out of the room, heart pounding. Behind her, the door shut by itself. As she reached her own room, she held the device tightly in her hand. She didn't know what scared her more, what she had seen, or what she might find out. The night was not over, and sleep didn't come. Rena sat on her bed, the strange coin-shaped device still clutched tightly in her hand. The silence around her felt heavy, not peaceful, but full of waiting, like the air before a storm. She kept looking at the device. It was warm now. It hadn't been warm before. Then, without warning, it began to glow, not bright, but just enough to light up her face in the darkness. Slowly, silently, it began to spin in her palm. No strings, no wind, it just moved. Like it was alive. Rena dropped it on the bed and backed away. "What are you?" she whispered. Suddenly, her bedroom light blinked once, twice, then off. Her phone buzzed, even though it was turned off. Then she heard a voice, faint, from the device. "Memory access. Level 1. Subject, Rena. Unlocking. Rena froze. Her body couldn't move, not from fear, but something else. A strange pressure in her head. Then, she wasn't in her room anymore. She was standing in a white hallway. No windows, no doors. Just endless walls and lights that hummed above her. She looked down. Her clothes were different, a silver jumpsuit. Her hands, they looked the same, but when she tried to speak, no sound came. She turned. A voice echoed behind her. "You were the best of them, Rena." A tall man in a lab coat walked toward her. She couldn't see his face. It was blurred, like in a dream. "You learned fast, obeyed fast. You didn't ask questions. That's what made you perfect." Rena tried to scream, but her mouth wouldn't open. Then another voice, deeper, more familiar. It was Aryan. "She needs to wake up. Too much too fast will burn her mind." The memory around her began to break, like a glass wall cracking. The white hallway shattered into pieces. Suddenly, she was back. In her room, sweating, breathing fast. The device was quiet again, but she remembered everything. Rena stood up, her legs shaking. She had seen something, not a dream, not a movie, a memory, but how? She grabbed the device and ran to Aryan's room. This time, she didn't knock. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. The secret wall behind the shelf was open again. Aryan was standing in front of one of the machines, typing quickly. He didn't look surprised to see her. "You saw something," he said without turning. Rena's voice was hoarse. "Why did I see that? Who was that man? Why did he say I was perfect?" Aryan turned to her. His face was calm, but his eyes were tired. "Because it's true. You were trained for obedience, for silence, for survival." He walked over and placed the coin device on a table. That was a memory implant, a real one, not a dream. Rena stepped back. "So, what am I?" Aryan took a breath. "You are human, but not born like most. You were grown. Grown? In a lab. Same as me. Created to be smarter, faster, and quieter than the rest." Rena shook her head. "That's not possible." "I remember my childhood, my mother, my school." Aryan nodded. "You remember what they wanted you to remember. You were given a set of memories, a life that felt real. But it was built like a story in your brain." Rena was silent. Then she whispered, "Why?" Aryan looked down. "To test, to see if clones could pass as humans. They placed us in the world, gave us jobs, watched us from a distance." Rena stared at him. "So, this house, you hired me on purpose?" "No," he said. "I didn't know at first, but over time, I noticed. You reacted to certain frequencies. You healed too fast. You didn't age like others. I ran a scan. You scanned me? I had to be sure. And then tonight, you entered the room without being called. You heard the signal. That was the final proof. Rena didn't know whether to cry or scream. Everything felt unreal, but one question still burned in her mind. Why now? Why are we remembering now? Arian looked at her with serious eyes. Because the project wasn't shut down, it went underground. And they're trying to bring us back, not just to study, but to use. Use how? They want soldiers. Perfect ones, obedient, quiet, no family, no fear, and we're just the first batch. Suddenly, the computer behind Arian beeped loudly. On the screen, a message appeared. Location signal detected. Incoming. Arian's eyes widened. They found us. He ran to the secret wall, pressed a button, and a hidden door slid open. Follow me. No questions, just move. Rena stood frozen for a moment, but then she remembered the voice in her vision. We're the best of them. She took one last look at her room, her fake room, and stepped into the dark tunnel behind Arian. She didn't feel her feet on the ground. As Rena ran through the tunnel behind Arian, the floor seemed to blur beneath her. The air was cold and dry, like it hadn't been touched in years. Pipes ran along the ceiling, humming quietly with invisible energy, but what chilled her most was the silence. Not even their footsteps made a sound. It was as if the tunnel was swallowing the noise. Then she saw it. At the end of the narrow passage, a circular door slid open with a soft hiss. Behind it was a small room filled with glowing machines, screens, wires, and something that looked like a metallic chair from a science fiction movie. Arian walked in and motioned for her to stop. This is the core, he said. Where they first tested memory uploads. It's where I learned who I was. Rena's heart raced. Her mind was still foggy from what she had seen earlier. But why are we here now? She asked. Arian didn't answer with words. Instead, he pulled a silver band from a drawer, like a crown made of wires. He held it out to her. This will connect you to your full memory archive. Rena stared at it, unsure. You want me to wear that? Yes, Arian said. Your memories are locked, deep. The device you used earlier only showed a fraction. This chair will give you all of it. Rena stepped back. What if I don't want to know? Arian looked at her calmly. Then you'll live in fear. Not knowing what's real, not knowing why they're after you. The truth is the only thing that can protect you now. Rena looked at the chair again. It wasn't just a machine, it was a door to another version of herself. She sat down. Arian gently placed the crown on her head. The wires touched her temples. Lights blinked on the screen beside her. Ready? He asked. Rena gave a small nod. The screen flashed. And her world shattered. It began with a sharp sound, like glass breaking in her ears. Then came images, bright, fast, blurred. Children in white rooms. Machines scanning bodies. Her own voice, younger, repeating words like a robot. Protocol 7A. I will obey. I will serve. I am not human. Then she saw a man's face, the doctor from before. This time, his face was clear, cold eyes. Thin smile. You're my masterpiece, he had said. Then another image. A room full of other girls that looked like her, exactly like her. Same face, same eyes. Clones. She was one of many. But why did she survive? Suddenly, the memory changed. There was smoke, screaming. A door left open. Rena, the younger version, running down a dark hallway, escaping. Then silence. She woke with a jolt. Her hands were shaking. Her face was wet with sweat. Arian stood beside her, watching. I saw everything, she whispered. He nodded. You were clone number 17, the only one who escaped. Rena wiped her face, still trying to process. They said I was obedient, she said. That I followed every order. You did, Arian said. Until you didn't. You were the first to ask a question, the first to run. Rena stood up. Slowly, the room felt colder now. But if I was made to follow, why did I run? Arian gave a faint smile. Because something went wrong. Or maybe something went right. You became more than what they built. Rena looked down at her hands. So, I'm not real? He stepped closer. You are real, you just weren't born. But you were made. And you chose. That's more human than most. Suddenly, the wall screen lit up. A face appeared. The Dr. Live. I see you found the lab, he said with a grin. And your little memories. Touching. Rena's blood ran cold. How are you watching us? Arian asked. I never stopped, the doctor replied. You both belong to me. And I've come to take you back. The screen went black. Then sirens began to sound. Arian moved fast. He grabbed a small bag from a cabinet and tossed it to Rena. Take that. Inside is a memory stick, a map, and a key. A key to what? To the truth they didn't show. You, he said. Go, I'll hold them off. No, Rena said. You'll die, Arian smiled. Maybe, but this story isn't about me anymore. It's yours now. The door behind her hissed open. She looked back one last time. Arian was already at the console, typing fast. Rena turned and ran. She had never run this fast before, not in dreams. Not in childhood games. Not even in fear. But now, as the ground shook behind her and the tunnel lights blinked red, Rena ran like her life wasn't hers to save, but the world's. Alarms echoed through the underground facility. The air was filled with smoke, heat, and a strange pulsing noise, like the heartbeat of a giant machine. She gripped the small black bag Arian gave her. Inside was the key, the memory stick, and a folded map. She didn't look back. Arian told her not to. And somehow, she knew that was goodbye. The tunnel split into two paths. One was marked Exit A. The other had no label, just a door, with a round symbol burned into it. 3 circles inside a triangle. Her instincts pulled her toward the unmarked path. She pressed the door open and stepped inside. It wasn't a hallway. It was an old lab. Everything inside was frozen in time. Dust on the desks, broken glass on the floor, and photos pinned to the wall. Not printed photos, but images of her. Different ages, different locations, different versions of herself. Some had longer hair. Some had scars. One had a barcode tattooed on her neck. It was then she understood. She wasn't the only Rena who escaped. Her eyes landed on a cracked monitor. She wiped the dust. It blinked to life. Welcome, subject -17. Scanning memory code. The screen shifted. A video played. The doctor appeared. Younger. Smiling. Clone 17. Mental resistance. High. Emotional growth. Unexpected. Danger level. Rising. Termination advised if memory awakens. Rena stepped back. Termination? Arian had said she was the only one who asked questions. But maybe the others did too. And maybe they didn't survive it. Suddenly the wall beside her clicked. A metal panel slid open, revealing a dark compartment. Inside it was a small gun and a voice recorder. She picked it up. Pressed play. Arian's voice. If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it out. But you still can. The memory drive you're carrying holds the names of every subject they created. And where the others are now. Some are still asleep. Some are living fake lives like you did. You have a choice. Escape or wake them. Rena's hand tightened on the recorder. Suddenly, a heavy noise came from above, a loud crash. They were here. She looked at the map. The final exit was still 600 meters away, through an old ventilation shaft. She grabbed the weapon, the memory drive, and ran toward the back wall where the grate waited. It was rusted shut. With both hands, she pulled hard. The metal groaned, then finally gave way. She climbed in. Inside the shaft, it was hot and narrow. The metal scraped her arms. But she kept going. Behind her, voices shouted in a language she didn't recognize. Laser lights flashed. Through the cracks, she didn't stop. Not when her arm bled, not when her leg cramped, not even when she saw another symbol scratched into the metal wall. The same three-circle triangle again. What did it mean? She reached the end of the shaft, a metal door. Locked. She reached into the bag, pulled out the key. It fit. The door opened. And cold air hit her face. Fresh, real, night sky. She was outside, but not free, because standing at the edge of the forest was a figure in black, tall, with a mask that covered his entire face. Red lights glowed from the eyes. He said nothing. Rena raised the weapon. Arian left her. He didn't move. Then, from behind him, another figure stepped out. Another girl. Same face, same eyes. Same body, but not her. The clone stared at Rena like a mirror with no soul. The masked man pointed to her and said, "That one replaced you." Rena's grip on the gun tightened. The clone took a step forward and smiled, a cold, empty smile. "We are not supposed to choose," the clone said. "You broke the code." And then she ran at her. Time didn't slow down. It split, just as Rena raised the weapon toward her mirror self, the clone that replaced her. A sharp vibration pulsed through the ground. The air shimmered around them like heat rising from concrete. Then the forest disappeared. One blink, that's all it took. One blink, and she was standing alone. In a different place. No trees, no night sky, no masked man, just metal. Endless metal. The ground was silver. The walls curved like a tunnel, but open-ended. Overhead, a sky of pure white stretched forever, with no sun and no shadows. And behind her, a large door. Not just a door, a ring, floating in the air, spinning slowly. Blue energy swirled at its center like liquid light. Carved above the ring were the words, "Doorway 7, approved subject only." She turned in circles. "Where am I?" A voice echoed around her, deep, robotic, calm. "Welcome, Subject 17. You are now between dimensions. You have activated the parallel door." Rena stepped back, heart racing. This isn't real. This isn't real. But the cold floor beneath her feet said otherwise. Then something moved. From the center of the ring, a figure stepped forward. But not fully. Its body glitched, shifting between forms. Sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes her. "Who are you?" she whispered. The figure tilted its head. "I am what you become if you don't choose." Rena's breath caught in her throat. It stepped closer. "This is a test. This space was built for your kind, for the split ones. The undecided, the almost human." Rena felt the memory stick in her bag, heavy, important. "They're still out there," she said. "The others like me." The figure nodded. "And one world wants to wake them, the other wants to erase them." "Which world is this?" "Neither," it said. "This is the place in between. You brought yourself here. But only one version of you can leave." Suddenly behind her, a sound footsteps. Rena turned. The clone had followed her through. Same face, same voice. But something was missing. In the eyes that spark Arian once told her made her different. "This isn't your path," Rena said, but the clone smiled. "Paths can be copied too." She raised her hand, and the same weapon Rena carried appeared in it, as if copied. From her memory, they stood face to face. The voice echoed again. "One subject must be deleted. One will enter the real world." Rena's hands shook. "I'm not here to fight," she said. The clone tilted her head. "Then you've already lost." She fired, but nothing hit. The bullet froze in midair, stuck in a field of light around. "Rena," the voice echoed again, "only the original can pass. Choose your code. Prove your will." Rena pulled the memory stick from her bag and held it up. "I choose the truth," she said. "I choose freedom, not for me, for all of us." The ring behind her began to glow brighter. The clone screamed. her face twisting into anger. She ran forward. Rena turned and jumped. Through the ring dot, it felt like falling through water and fire at the same time, that her body stretched, that her mind opened. She saw 1,000 images of herself, different lives, different choices, all rushing. Past her, then darkness, then stillness, then a new place. Rena opened her eyes. She was lying on a cold white floor. Around her were tall machines and glowing pods, each one holding a person. Just like her. Dozens of them, sleeping, waiting. She stood up, the memory stick still clutched in her hand. A panel on the wall blinked. Insert key to begin memory upload. Her hand hovered over the slot. She took a deep breath, then pushed it in. It wasn't light that woke her, it was thought, a memory. But not her own. Rena opened her eyes, and someone else's pain filled her head. Flashes, screams, a needle in someone's arm, steel beds, a voice yelling, "Shut it down." She sat up with a gasp. Around her, the sleeping pods were still, glowing. But one was now empty, hers. The memory stick was gone from the panel. But something else had changed. The world outside the glass wall was not the same anymore. She stepped out of the chamber barefoot. The hallway beyond the pod room was curved, clean, and glowing softly, but it felt upside down. Rena's eyes scanned everything. Machines walked by without wheels. Plants grew from the ceiling. The gravity felt lighter, as if the air itself carried her steps. There were people here too, but not like the ones she remembered. They looked human, but their eyes were too clear, their skin too smooth, their voices too quiet, as if they didn't speak with mouths, but with thoughts. One of them turned toward her and spoke inside her head. "She has crossed the parallel, the one who chose." A woman stepped forward. Tall, pale blue robes, hair like silver thread. "You are Rena," she said, with words now, softly, "and you are not from this side." Rena backed away. "Where am I?" "This is the world you unlocked," the woman said. "Where the project succeeded. Where the clones woke." Rena's eyes widened. "You mean this world is run by us?" The woman nodded. "No leaders, no owners, only the ones who broke the chain, like you." "But why did the memory bring me here?" The woman held up a small crystal cube, glowing softly. Rena recognized it. It was her memory stick. "You didn't just upload information." The woman said, "You opened a gate. The others will follow, if you let them." Rena looked around. "And the doctor? The masked men? They're gone?" "Not gone," said the woman. "Just left behind. That world still runs on control. This one runs on choice." A long silence followed. Then Rena asked, "What happened to the clone who chased me?" The woman lowered her eyes. "She entered too. But she didn't choose. She followed. Where is she now?" The woman walked to a window. Outside, Rena saw a field of light, floating like fog. Inside it, shadows of people flickered in and out. "She is still deciding," the woman said. "Some stay in that loop forever." Suddenly, a boy ran past them in the hallway. He stopped in front of Rena, looking no older than 12. "You're the first one to come through awake," he said excitedly. "The others came in pieces, but you knew who you were." Rena knelt in front of him. "Who are you?" "I was Subject 9, he said proudly. "But now I have a name, Kian," Rena smiled. "I think I need one of those too." The woman placed a hand on her shoulder. "You can choose now. No codes. No numbers. Only names, real ones." But peace didn't last. An alarm blared through the glass hall. A red light. A warning. The woman looked sharply toward the sky. "They found the door," she whispered. Rena turned. "Who?" "The ones you escaped from." "But I thought they couldn't cross." "They couldn't," the woman said grimly, "until you opened it." Rena's heart sank. "I brought them here?" The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, but you can also stop them." "How?" You must go back one last time. Seal the door from their side before they take what we've built. Rena looked out at the sky. No stars, only swirling energy. This world had peace. It had freedom. It was what she always wanted. But the ones still trapped behind, the others like her, were still in danger. The choice was hers. Again. Stay or fight for the others. The future wasn't ahead of her. It was chasing her from behind. Rena stood at the edge of the glowing field, the place where peace ended and choices began. Behind her was the new world, quiet, safe, a life she had earned. In front of her was the door she had opened, still spinning, still alive, and something was coming through. The woman in blue stood beside her. You don't have to go, she said gently, but Rena was already stepping forward. I didn't fight to escape, she said. I fought to wake up. She looked down at her hand. In her palm was a new device, small, dark, and pulsing, the key to seal the parallel door forever. Once used, it would close the link between both worlds. Forever, no one would cross again. Not the clones. Not the creators. Not even Rena. The sky above turned red. A black ship tore through the clouds like a blade. Rena didn't flinch. They're early, she said. They know what you're about to do, the woman replied. Rena turned to her. Then they're scared. The woman offered a soft smile. Good, let them be. She stepped into the ring of light. The air bent around her, and suddenly, she was back in the old world. The tunnel was cold again. The alarm lights flashed. The facility groaned under pressure. Everything smelled like smoke and metal. But Rena was no longer afraid. She ran toward the main chamber. The key clutched tightly, but someone blocked the door. The clone, the one who chased her. The one who didn't choose, still alive, still waiting. You don't belong here anymore, the clone said. You're right, Rena replied. That's why I'm ending it. The clone raised a weapon. You can't close the door. They need us. We were made for them. Rena looked at her with sadness. No, we were made by them, not for them. She held up the sealing device. The clone hesitated. The glow from the key reflected in her eyes. You're not the only version of us, the clone whispered. I don't have to be, Rena said. I just have to be the first to stop running. The clone stepped back. For the first time, she lowered the weapon. A silent choice. A silent surrender. Rena walked past her. Into the core. The door pulsed wildly, unstable, flickering, hungry. For more. She placed the device into the control panel. The lights dimmed. The door began to close, first slowly, then faster. The spinning ring cracked with light. Rena took a deep breath, then looked into the swirling void one last time, and whispered, no more cages. She hit the final switch. Silence. Then, a soft blue pulse. And the parallel door vanished. Gone. Forever. She woke again. But not in the lab, not in the pod, not in the field of light. This time, in a room. Wooden floors, a soft bed, a window, where sunlight poured in. She stood up, walked to the mirror. Her reflection smiled. Not programmed. Not copied. Real. Downstairs, voices laughed. Children played outside. She stepped into the warm morning air. A woman with silver hair waved from across the field. It was her, but older, peaceful. Kian ran past, chasing a butterfly. This wasn't the old world. This wasn't the clone world. This was hers. A new one. One she chose. Final shot. The camera pulls back, showing a field full of others, former clones, now free, planting trees, building homes, living real lives. And in the distance, one empty chair under a tree, waiting for the next one to wake up.